Welcome, everyone. Hello, hello. I hope everybody's having a wonderful day, whatever you might be. If you don't mind, we'd love to get a sense of where everybody is today. I'm here in San Francisco live. Feel free to just unmute and say hello.
Hello, London, England.
Guten Abend, Deutschland.
Northeast Ohio.
Connecticut.
Bavaria, Germany.
Ventura, California.
Chicago, Illinois.
Along the Mississippi.
Luxor, Egypt.
Another London, England.
Rheingau, Germany.
I'm on Wurundjeri country in Melbourne, Australia.
The surface of planet Earth, more specific, California.
And Upper Columbia bioregion.
From Montreal, Canada.
Hi there. Fort Collins, Colorado here.
Beautiful. And we have more of our Hylo community friends joining us today. So welcome, welcome. How many of you, this is your first community call or Hylo introduction? Justin, welcome. Will, Nick. I'm actually just curious, like, how did you find out about Hylo? If you want to share. Justin, Will.
Yeah, I watched Nate's what was the title of that YouTube video? Seeking Agency, something like that, and it really struck a chord with me, and that drew me into this community. Yeah, it's great. Glad to be here.
Beautiful. What about you, Will?
Look, I listened to the Screw This podcast series and connected through. I somehow ended up on the Jessica Friday Substack, and that's how this invitation came through.
Amazing. I love that. Yes,
Same here.
Tony.
I got Jessica Friday turned me on to you guys.
Incredible. Well, welcome. We're really happy that you're here, that you found us and you made it.
Yeah,
So
my first time also. And I've been receiving emails about it, but where I'm living, it usually starts at around about midnight. But with changes in time zones, it's now 11 p.m.
Oh, okay. Great. Beautiful. Well, I'd love to ask if you can mute yourself just for a moment. We'll have more discussions and questions later on the call, just to avoid any. Yeah, so as you know, for those who know me, I'm Yasmin. I'm the community catalyst here for Hylo, and my colleagues Tibet, Claire, and Krisha are also here. Do you want to say hello briefly?
Hello, all. Nice to see you. Excited to be here with you all.
Hello, hello. Good
to Hey, see you all. everyone.
Amazing. So, as you know, Hylo is a community-led pro-social coordination platform specifically for purpose-driven groups. We have hundreds of groups on the platform who are activating their members, coordinating online, offline, and our intention and our purpose is to create a flourishing future for all life. So, with that, I'd love to invite just do a brief product updates around the Resilience Networks pilot and paid content as well, the soft launch of that. So over to you.
Yeah, well, hey all, I'll start. My name is Claire Brodeur. I'm the Director of Product for Hylo, and I'm going to share today about our plans for this year and years to come around piloting what we've built with Hylo. And specifically, we are going to run a place-based pilot in the Bay Area of California this year and possibly into the next few years to test whether Hylo can really support communities in developing local resilience. So we're going to be focused on developing cultures of mutual support and seeing if we can actually start measuring and a change in resilience over time if communities are using Hylo to coordinate locally. So I'm just going to share a little bit about that and then how it will kind of ripple outwards. And Tibet, our director of technology, might have some things to share about that as well. Um, but as many of you may know, we have tools for mutual support on Hylo, requests and offers, and we really encourage people to use them because when you have mutual support happening in your group, it really builds relationships, it builds trust and accountability. And that's a very powerful thing that can take a group on its evolution from just being like, an online space people show up to now and then, to being a group that is actually very well coordinated and able to have impactful change in the world. And so mutual support we really see as key on that evolutionary journey. And so part of what we're going to do this year is expand our tools for mutual support. We want to start seeing people able to do things like offering local exchanges, which might look like tool libraries, buy nothing groups, like a free cycle vibe, and people just like swapping support with each other in a local context. And I'll let Tibet share a little bit more about that if he wants to in a minute. Um, but the way this pilot is going to work is that we're going to partner with local organizations in the Bay Area, specifically the East Bay, like Oakland, Berkeley area, California, for those of you familiar, and work with organizations that are already doing good work on the ground. And we're in touch with many of those. And most of the Hylo team has lived in that area at one time or another, and Tibet still does. So that's why that's the location we're starting with. Our strongest networks are there. Um, and we will be expanding to other pilots in other regions, and I'll share about that in a minute. But we will partner with organizations. We will have stewards, like co-stewards of a resilience community that we create on Hylo that will also be doing a lot on the ground. The stewards will be paid and have the support of our whole team. And we'll see basically like how effective can this tool be to really make the types of local impact that we're aiming for. We're just really going to try to test it out as deeply as we can and collect data about that. And it's not very easy to really measure things like trust and relationships, but we're going to try. Part of this is a belief that we can actually make something like social cohesion measurable and we can actually impact it. That's what we want to prove. It's an experiment and we really want to see like just how big an impact can we have if we have a local group get together and really try to use the tools. And there's of course local groups using Hylo all over the place, but not always that we have great insight into in this way. What else? This will be stewarded collectively through participatory governance and using all the great tools that Hylo has, like proposals, like funding rounds, like the map. Um, and yeah, in year one, we're just going to start activating the network. We'll do a lot of in-person events to build relationship first, and then encourage the use of the mutual support tools. In year two, we hope to introduce an interoperable protocol where other collaboration platforms could join us in offering mutual support tools, and we could potentially have a wider ecosystem of people participating in this resilience network, not just on Hylo, but on any other collaboration platform that has shared values and wants to participate. Because we're not about platform lock-in or trying to like dominate anything. We're trying to create ecosystems of mutual support in the world. And then we hope to document what's happening, share our successes, and create a replicable model that we could then test out in other bioregions. And of course, evaluate our success. And part of how we might track metrics around social cohesion is that we could be surveying the community members at the very beginning of this and surveying at, year two or three, and just asking questions like, have you met people through this? Have you met up in person with someone? Has something happened in your community through this network that supported you? Were you able to engage in a request and an offer and have your need met? Um, those are data points that we can be tracking, and that will be very interesting to see, like how much we're able to impact these things. Um, so that is a big project on our horizon, and we're starting to talk to our partners now and get the word out about that. And yeah, in case there's anything you want to add, Tibet, um, I'll pause there.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I can talk a little bit about the product side and what we are planning to build, and we're still in the design process of this, and we'll definitely be hosting calls to get input from our various communities partners as well. But just some of the specific features that we'll be implementing. I mean, Hylo already has requests and offers, but they're pretty simple, and we want to add just a better UI for kind of browsing an exchange of requests and offers and tracking what's new, categorizing them, having reminders about, making sure that you reminders about ones that might be interesting to you, but also reminders to the people who posted them to check if they're still available or not, and kind of update statuses. We'll definitely be doing some kind of AI matching to help make sure that the right posts are finding the right people quickly and easily, and possibly tracking contribution in some way within groups. Who is contributing the most, or just some kind of like thank yous or contribution tracking that's not necessarily like gamifying, but we think that there's some value in tracking that across communities, and some communities will want it more than others. Yeah, and then we do have a very specific grant actually coming up, that's going to build on this work and be focused on enabling Hylo to create tool lending libraries. So this will be like a certain kind of request and offers exchange, but for long running items like, you could imagine tools in your garage that you lend to your neighbors, but also farmers who want to lend tractors to each other or have like large equipment. And people can check things out, and we track who has what and remind them to return and track things like that. So we're excited to kind of build on the core communication features that Hylo currently has and build some of these really specific tools for enabling both local and virtual, mutual aid. And there'll be more information coming about that soon. And I think I do want to highlight just once more, I know Claire said this, but while we're starting with our first pilot in the Bay Area, we do intend to launch 3 to 5 pilots this year. And so we're in a process of thinking about and looking for partners around the world, in different bioregions, to figure out where it makes the most sense, where we have relationships and connections already, where there's perhaps partners on the ground already doing a lot of resilience work, that we can partner with easily, or where there's grants that we can tap into to support this. So definitely reach out to us if you feel like you or your organization or your region might be interested in being one of these pilots.
Thank you, Tibet. There's a question from Anne about what standards are already in place currently for this functionality.
Sorry, say that again. What was the question?
Like what has been put in place already for this functionality around mutual, measuring social cohesion and so forth. Like there's just a question in the chat here about that.
Specifically regarding interoperable standards, I believe, is the question. Tibet, maybe you could just share about the work with murmurations.
Yeah, I mean, we did start working on a protocol, or sort of building on this murmurations protocol. We created an interoperable network mapping kind of architecture where we created standard formats for organizations and relationships between organizations, and the ability for profiles to be published from any different platform that implemented this standard, and to create these kind of network maps from organizational profiles across platforms. And the intention was to build on top of that then the ability for requests and offers to flow from any platform to any other platform. And we think it's a really great use case, because usually in the case of mutual aid, you want your request or your offer to be spread widely. You're not trying to keep it private. In some cases you are. In some cases you want it to be contained in a certain community, but in certain ones you want it to be very public and shared across many different communities and networks. So there's that exploration of pursuing building on top of the murmurations protocol. We've also been exploring building on top of Proto, which is the Blue Sky Network's standard protocol that they've built, to see if that's the place to build. But we haven't built anything yet in terms of interoperable protocols, and we're still in the kind of design and exploration process. And yeah, would love to also find some specific funding from a partner or a foundation for the interoperability work, because usually it's the least funded part of this type of work. And yeah, I know Brandon mentioned Open Haven as a community where these conversations are happening, and there's been discussion of applying to grants as Open Haven as a place. And this is also connected to the Collaborative Technology Alliance, which we've been involved in as well.
Beautiful. Thank you, Tibet. Thank you, Claire, for this update. And I think I'd love to open up a conversation here about, I was thinking maybe a prompt for us to reflect on is, how do you personally, like in your group or even you as a person, recognize when a group has a strong social cohesion? Like what, from your lens and your unique perspective, how do you see that? And so I'd love to, maybe if you can raise your hand and keep your answers short so that we can get as many ideas or perspectives as we can, and maybe learn from each other in this process of community building. So whoever wants to start, raise your hand, and then we can just go through a few shares. And I'm happy to start, actually, as someone who builds community. For me, it's about continuous engagement. Like how, when I sense that the community or the group has strong social cohesion, is that there is a sense of, safety and belonging, where people are free to talk about their challenges. They're free to make an ask and to offer something to the community, and it flows, and that to me is a good signal that the community is alive and happening. So just to get us going, Rob, feel free to unmute.
I think the first step has got to be trust, somehow developing trust. Because that's definitely lacking in communities. And that's why we're struggling to develop them, because we need trust. There's lots of ways we can do that, and we're working on it. We each are as individuals.
Absolutely. Trust. I love that. Thank you, Rob. Mark, what about you?
So, as I've shared with the group, I've been working, I'm in the 7th year of working on what I thought was a book. It's now 4. And its fundamental perception is that groups have the most minimal of cohesion today. And they did when I was young, in social movements. We do sort of like a minimalism. We have a certain kind of tinkering, all right? But as is true, you can see it across this, I've been organizing since I was 15, I'm 72. And every time I dip my fingers in, I pull back, because the group has like continuity in having meetings, but has no mission. It has people on fire building a world. It has no education project that's building that world. Just mentioned was trust. Trust is one of the things that I think is one of the most dangerous concepts we have, because it's a word we throw, like love, like gods, like a whole lot of language, in which we don't have systemic nature of how we build what we're saying. And so part of what I know builds community really strongly, I've answered to a ton of sandbag lines. I've answered to a ton of tornado cleanups. I've answered to derecho cleanups after huge storms. People always afterwards are just asking each other, how come we can't do this more often? Because it's so real, because they're in real mission, really hurting, really feeling the moment of threat. And in American society, at least, and I assume in many of the developed democracies, we don't have a lot of need that we answer to together. The interdependence of small communities has evaporated into big cities and so forth. So part of what, for me, is really most important in all of this is we are missing mission, which is how we're losing men, because boys have nothing of value to really contribute in their lives. And so for me, I don't find groups that give me a lot of inspiration. I find a lot of need for what I'm doing.
Thank you, Mark. I hear
You
you.
bet.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Shelley.
Yeah, hi. I would say there's social cohesion when members of a group start to rely on each other, either for advice or concrete exchange, or and when there's attunement to group members, right? Like where it's like, oh, I know that so and so asked about such and such, and then it came across my life, and I'm going to reach out and offer something to them even without being asked. So I would say reliance and attunement.
I love that. Yeah, that's really interesting. And I actually feel like within the Hylo, community and these circles, I see that happen quite a lot in these community calls, like people just responding to each other's asks. And we're going to do a little demo later on the call to see if we can, share some asks and offers and see if perhaps someone within the group has what we need. And oftentimes it's just about asking the question. So we'll do a demo in a bit, but I'd love to hear more perspectives from you all. So Chuck, you're up next.
Wow, thank you, Jeff. And I am so excited about this organization. I've been addicted to nonprofits for literally 50 years, and I really resonate with what Mark said. My greatest achievement, I didn't run for the office, but I was chair of the United Nations Association Council of Organizations. It represented 120 peace movements, environmental movements, and economic and social justice movements. And I've been involved in global health issues and gave congressional testimony on biosecurity issues. And I've reframed NFL. NFL, nobody freaking listens. But anyway, but there are groups I've been involved with. One was Results. Results was an anti-hunger lobby, actually came out of San Francisco, or from the Hunger Project in San Francisco. I've been with that for a long time. And they had a really unique way of bringing groups together around a purpose, around a very good purpose, and a very straight mission. And the greater mission now, I'm with Rotary International and struggling with them to try to get them to take on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which for me are the whole shebang. They're a comprehensive, holistic, synergistic approach to health for everything and everybody. And so it's not easy getting them to reframe the peace movement itself. I've been warring with for a long time because they don't do prevention. They do disarmament. They try, and obviously it's failing. But the idea of health, health of mind, body, spirit, family, community, environment, government, economy. It's so simple. And then the word shalom basically means the wealth of everything, the health and well-being of everything. But I'm not going to use that. I'm going to go for health, global health. So I really look forward to talking to Claire about some ideas that are already working and some that have failed and kind of working through that. But anyway, thank you so much for making this happen. I'm so excited.
Thank you, Chuck. I love your enthusiasm. Thank you so much. And yeah, the 100 Project is such an amazing mission. So I know a number of friends within Hylo that have been involved. So Klaus, is it Klaus? Is that how you say your name? Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, I got invited almost a year ago now to join a research project at the Schumacher Institute. I'm a senior research fellow, and we're working on the integration of artificial intelligence with human intelligence, developing hybrid intelligence systems. And our group has been floundering all over the place, and it was just this last few weeks where in June our current project ends and we're all looking at, oh my gosh, we can't stop, right? And we ended up having to develop a common purpose. And we actually did. We actually found a way to develop a structure where we can continue our research. And we want to shift from a future how to a future act. meaning the group has decided that we actually want to engage and share our learnings, turn them into something practical and useful. So it is mission, right? I mean, it is purpose that unites the group. And we are coming from all different directions. We're from different countries, and it's all online, obviously. And it has been just a real joy, to see us uniting and see this energy becoming so positive and so constructive. So yeah, mission, purpose, and trust in a sense of alignment. Yeah.
Love that. Yes. Mission, purpose, and trust. Love that. Thank you so much, Klaus, for your contribution. Appreciate that. All right. Up next, Mo.
So I'd just like everybody to imagine stepping back one step from the purpose-driven notion of what Hylo could do and reconsider just the social connection, because I feel like the piece that is really missing in any of the work that individuals are doing is a sense of connection to like-minded individuals or not like-minded individuals. And to that end, I'm working on a project that I call the Stone Soup Community Meal Events. And if you know the story of Stone Soup, everything comes together to kind of create a meal. Each person is bringing a little something, and it grows. But I think that when the world feels as on fire as it does right now, it becomes really hard to imagine the stillness in between action. And I think that is kind of the feminine piece, right? Like action is like, ooh, we're driven, we're going to do stuff. But the eating and baking bread and connecting for the things that give us sustenance, I think is a really key thing that does all the things that you're talking about as far as creating trust and, making friends and finding out who's doing what you're interested in. And we have these moments on Zoom, which are really incredible worldwide. I mean, I too am blown away by the magnitude. But I feel like in the small local community, having built into what you're working on of measurable outcomes and data sets, breaking bread together could be such a key piece of making that really go. Because right now, my own from from rural communities, Facebook groups and neighborhood groups, there is a lot of offering happening, not necessarily purpose driven, libraries making lending tools, etc. possible. But what there's not a lot of, except if you're in a really, really small area, is breaking bread together. And I think that is kind of a key thing of remembering that not only are we purpose-driven creatures, we're also really social creatures. And that's the place where we make trust.
It's so true. And just so beautifully articulated. It's like everybody needs to eat every day, right? And so how do we turn food moments into also meaningful conversations that matter, and having these, table conversations or prompts where you're having a discussion and not just having a meal. So Mo, I think it would be great to talk maybe offline and see what Hylo spaces, the community is so global. I could imagine us having like meals in different cities. And so imagining that, what would that look like? So yeah. Dan.
Wow, it came so fast. Did Gary come? Was Gary to come first, or I guess on your list I'm first, or ahead of Gary. Anyway, yeah. So I've gotten to know some of you in Hylo because we're trying to make a decision up here in the Marin Sonoma bioregional formation hub as to what platform we should settle into, because we're using mining networks but my background comes from, a lifetime of work in the environmental industry. Ever since we called it the environmental industry, now we're calling it regenerative, bioregional regenerative development. but originally it was in the economic system of creating a stock group. I was the financial editor for Environmental Business Journal, and we created a stock reporter section. And about 10 years into that project, I realized, yeah, modern extractive capitalism isn't going to get us where we need to go. But the change from environmental protection to sustainable development to now regenerative bioregional development is a cultural transformation that we're all experiencing. I mean, this is an evolutionary jump, and AI is part of that process. But I was a student of the Integral Institute, and 20 years ago, we formed a group within that called Integral Leaders in Action. And Integral is about, we're really all one, but that doesn't explain much. So how do we bring us all together? And one of the missing pieces that I've seen in the news media and in the political parties, and I'm seeing it in this conversation, is how do we overcome a dominance hierarchy point of view, whereas in the integral movement, it's all about living into the developmental hierarchies that exist in ecosystems, but also in personal psychology. Because our whole school system, I was a teacher for 8 years and also a laboratory scientist in molecular biology. So I'm very much keen into the evolutionary transformations, and that development recapitulates evolution. And our whole school system is a developmental ego development system that recapitulates basically colonialism and extractive capitalism through competition. And we don't build a cooperative educational environment. So our end goal is to build a strong ego, not building a cooperative, integrated society that integrates not only with each other, like we're attempting to do here virtually, but with the natural environment. And so, and that becomes a problem when people are developed to just barely the abstract level of thinking, to other people that have developed not only to extensive abstract thinking, which is, involved in complexity theory and system dynamics modeling and all of that, as well as nuclear science and so forth, the high sciences, but also the new cultural development systems. I mean, there was a paper called, a book actually that I had in a sociology course that I took called Social Constructions of Reality. So our society, through our storytelling, we're constructing social structures. And those, of course, evolve. And there's a new layer on top of biological evolution to intellectual evolution, which they call epigenetic evolution. We're finding that cognitive development really follows the same evolutionary patterns as physical development and biological evolution and development.
Amazing.
But all of us are at different development and evolutionary levels.
Mm-hmm.
So when we try to come together, it becomes really difficult to talk to each other in our culture, because we all exist together at different levels of development, whether it's moral, intellectual, social, so forth. And so how do we recognize those different levels of development, getting rid of the competitive, like I'm better than you, or I'm the smartest guy in the room, or I'm the most beautiful woman, or whatever. We got to drop that ego development to create a new social development. And I think Hylo is actually part of this process. And I was just reading your business strategy and want to say, how do we apply this? Which is really what you're trying to do, using this technology.
Absolutely.
So thank you for the invitation to participate.
Of course. Thank you for your amazing contribution and knowledge, and for being in service. Appreciate you, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we've got a few more, and then we're going to do an experiment around asks and offers. Gary.
Okay, hello. I'd like to build on quite a few of the previous people. Rob T is in London. I'm not far from London, but maybe we should talk separately. Rob said trust is the starting point, and other people have echoed that. To me, it's yes, yes, yes. The starting point isn't getting the right kind of tools like Hylo, but although they're necessary, it's starting with the community. So on my project, we've just taken a lease on a little community shop, which will be built based around people helping each other in different ways, looking at the children, co-working, but organized help. So and the main thing we'll be doing is holding events, face-to-face events, mostly of two types: shared meals, which has come up in the comments as well as absolutely fundamental to human society. People don't know each other, and work parties. So we've got partners who are like local woodlands or a local healing center or whatever. And they already have existing monthly work parties. We're building on that, working with them. So that people see that they're part of different projects, but they're all working. The core thing being people working together, treating each other well, and treating the natural world well. And there are all kinds of events that make that have that as their core. And then, of course, having the right online tools is necessary to keep people together in between times. With one of the things that I think is core is the exchange system. So you've got the starting point yet, but you haven't got account system. But I'm working with the open money people. Michael is mentioned in the comments, and we would really like to have that integral in Hylo, and I don't think that would be very difficult. We really like to work with you on that. And all these different projects. There's the theoretical stuff that I base it on is my experiences, but the two basic ones are commons theory, which was mentioned in the comments again. And I presume that means Eleanor Ostram's commons principles, and viable systems, which is a branch of cybernetics, Stafford Beer's work. And that means that they sort of guide you to the kinds of things you need in addition to just being able to chat with each other. One of the core ones is the peacemaking dimension, where people are trained to treat what are the good communication skills so you avoid conflicts, you handle them gracefully, and so that you can get help if you can't handle conflicts yourself. Something that's way below the level of courts and solicitors. That's absolutely core for you. You also have to have a very strong sense of who we are. The people, who are you connected with in the community? How are they connected with each other? Who's doing things which support the community? And that's something that I think is not. I would like to hear from you. I would love to sit down with you and Tibet and the others and say, how can we get these extra dimensions in that we need socially at some point? And I would love to work with you. I've been on several of these things, and it's separate chat with Tibet. So that's me.
Beautiful. Love it. Yeah, no, these are some really great ideas. And I agree, it's like that intersection between the online and offline, the in-between virtual calls to come together in person. I see some really great comments around like collective sense making and being able for everyone to actually have their voices heard. And this is why I love these questions, because even hearing each other build trust, like you hear different ideas and perspectives, and I think that contributes to trust building, and having different voices heard versus just one person speaking the whole time. So we're experimenting every month of different ways we can come together as a community. And I love this format today, of getting a sense of the community. So, Jack.
Thank you. First of all, I want to let people who don't know him that Klaus has major chops in the regenerative agricultural space. You can look him up on LinkedIn and be amazed at the work he's doing. I've known him for a few years now, and I have great respect for his work. Also, I want to thank Dan for teasing open what I want to talk about. But Yasmin, you may want to keep your finger on the your mouse on the mute button because I'm well known as a loose cannon. But the totality of how I think, I will put on Hylo because I don't want to take up your time. It's an hour and a half long talk I was invited to give. Um, and I will put the talk in the slides. And when if you choose to watch it, it's on YouTube. I strongly suggest watching it in a private window so that Google can't badger you with all of their stupid ads. Um, Unless you're paying Google for Prime, and then you're okay. And I also suggest watching it at least 1.25. I have friends that watch it at 2.0 and still get it. I'll put those links in Hilo, but here's kind of what I want to talk about. Look, I'm not the only gray hair in this room, and I'm 81. I'm at an age where I know that I don't get to solve all the world's problems. You know what I'm saying? But like many of you in this room, I have kids. And so I follow what's called the good ancestor principle. I want to do whatever it takes to follow that. Now, I spent 5 years with Doug Engelbart, and that's where I learned a lot. I mean, everybody knows him for inventing the mouse and cording keyboards and all of that. And in 1968, he demonstrated the internet and office productivity long before we had any of those. So he's a pioneer in thinking. But what he's not really well known for is his ideas in how humans must come together. His primary claim is that the social systems and the tool systems they use must co-evolve. And in 1968, that was true. The tool systems we didn't have the internet. We didn't have all of the crap that's going on today. But today it's invalid because tool systems have just eclipsed human capacity to deal with the information flows and filter the chaff from find the signal in the noise. It's just beyond our capacity. Number two, and this is of enormous concern to me. Just go in any generalized chat room other than this group's. Say the chat at Scientific American, the comment section, and you don't have to scroll very far before somebody's telling somebody else they're an idiot. We have the very kinds of developmental levels that Dan was mentioning. And unless and until we can tame a larger proportion of humanity to be conversationally and collaboratively literate and hold a sense of critical thinking, we need the global conversations, not the little ones that we're doing within our own tribes. To technically, in our tribes, we're a bunch of preachers speaking to ourselves. We all have our ideas, and they're brilliant, but they need to be taken not just to the society at large, but to the kids in school. We want to get them before they get wrecked. And so I'll just give you a hint.
And Jack, you've got 30 more seconds to wrap it up
I
because
have
we
a
have two more
project
things to do.
I have a project called SenseCraft, and it's World of Warcraft meets global sense making. When you go on a quest in SenseCraft, you're not getting on a horse and riding into a cave, but rather your guild is taking on some high level topic like global change or women's rights or whatever. And just to finish, I'm doing clinical trials on an engineering prototype now with a 14-year-old female in Oman and a 13-year-old female in Colorado. The Omanian asked for a quest on ocean acidification. How many 14-year-olds would ask for that? You may remember that Severin Suzuki, at 12 years old, gave a talk to a UN conference on global climate in Brazil. It's on YouTube. It's enormously powerful. I'm done.
Jack, I'd love for you to send that link if you want to put it in the chat. And thank you for your share. We could listen to you for 2 hours. So definitely share your podcast as well with everybody. So I'd love to invite Tibet to share briefly about paid content, and then we're going to do a mutual aid experiment before we say goodbye today. Tibet.
Yeah, we should have started with this one because it's a shorter, simpler thing, and we could have dove into this great conversation. But just wanted to mention, and we've mentioned it recently a few times, but the other big feature set that we're rolling out very soon in the next week is enabling groups to charge membership fees for access to the group and or for access to specific tracks or courses. This is a feature that we've been asked for years. And we're finally, so people can move off of Mighty Networks or some of these other platforms that allow them to do that. We are finally going to be kind of soft launching it in the next week. Not really advertising it to everyone because we need to do a lot of testing to make sure it's working right since, we'll be working with money flows. It needs to be really locked down. So if you want to be a community that's testing it, let us know. You can reach out to hello@hylo.com and keep an eye out for the kind of beta soft launch version of this coming very soon. That's it.
Yay. Awesome. Thank you, Tibet. So we've got 10 minutes, and I would love to kind of just do a brief demo on the request and offer. And then I want us to ponder on just maybe in the chat, we could write down just one ask, one offer, maybe one thing you're grateful for today. So before we do that, let me share my screen briefly. And we are landing on the Build in Hylo wall and stream. So on the left, we have 1,170 members currently. So if you're not on there, make sure you join, and we'll put up a link in the chat. So if you go down to the stream, this is where you can create a post. And so when you go and create a post, you have an option to publish a discussion, an event, offer, or request. So I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick demo. I'm going to do an offer. My offer is maybe a chat about community building, and write a description, come join conversation about how to build community. You can make it public. You can have a time frame on it, like this offer will be between tomorrow or actually today and Sunday. And you could have a location as well. So I'm here in SF, and you could add an image, a picture as well, and you can post it. So now it's on the stream. So what I want us to do is maybe just in the chat, just so that we can do it together. And then I'm going to ask you to go to the platform and make the post so that we can all see each other's response. So let's take 2 minutes and reflect on, again, one ask, one offer, and one thing that you're grateful for today. All right, let's take 2 minutes and we will share in the chat. And yes, you can limit to be seen by only some groups, Gary, for sure. You can make it public or private. Okay, T minus 2 minutes. Countdown begins. Okay, I would love to invite everyone to now share in the chat so that we can see some of the responses here live come through. Yay, I see people posting already. And what I would love to encourage you to do next is to go on the Building Hylo stream. I'm going to put the link here in the chat and to basically just copy and paste your answer. And because what it does is we can go to the platform and we can read through and it doesn't get lost. And I also want to encourage you to read through other people's asks or offers and be able to respond with ideas or introductions or knowledge. I mean, there's so much wealth here in the community just by us sharing today. I think hopefully you learned something new or had an insight and was meaningful to you as well. All right. Let's see. I'd love to just share a couple more updates. Our next community call will be next month in June. And I actually would love to put a request. If a community wants to be highlighted, please reach out to me and I would love to chat with you so that we can highlight you and your group on these calls. And yeah. Any final words? Maybe we can do a family photo before we take off. And maybe if you don't have your camera on, I'd love to invite you to put your camera off for a second. And I'll do a countdown. 4, 3, 2, 1. Yay! Incredible. And again, please copy and paste your response on the platform. The link is in the chat, but that helps us to not just keep the conversations going between these calls. And I just want to say thank you to all of you for showing up. Hylo is one of the most engaged communities I have witnessed in my career in the last decade of building community. We had 150 people sign up for this call. And so we have 50 today, but a lot of people are continuously joining from all over the world. It's such a diverse community, and I just want to say thank you for being here and for saying yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Wiedersehen.
Do bring your asks and offers into Building Hylo so we can all track them and respond.
Yes, that's the fun part. Let's demonstrate that it can be done and help each other.
Soft wind moves the
Yay.
edge of time. Shadows lean on golden ground. No rush, no wait, just still.
Thank you all so much. You're the best. Keep going.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us this time. See you next time.
Mo, I'll be in touch with you as well on the dinner.
Lines dissolve into the sky. Every sound becomes a thought. Held between two fading suns. No rush, no wait, just still there and fading light. Skin remembers what silence feels like.
Bye, everyone. Good to see you all.